going on, guys? JPS back for another video, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about some of my thoughts after visiting Britain 3 summers in a row. And yes, that is correct. The past 3 summers I've gone around England. The past 2 summers I've gone around Scotland as well, and I have a lot of insights to share after my extensive travels throughout your guys' little island. I've had a great time, honestly. Every time I went to the UK, I made some amazing memories. I didn't want to leave. Well, obviously it was a bit homesick, so maybe I wanted to go. But there's a reason why I returned every year, obviously. I'm going to get into some of those reasons and tell you guys some of the biggest things I enjoyed and some of the biggest things I dislike about the UK after visiting for the past 3 years. So the first thing I need to get into is the coastline and seaside towns. This is something that I maybe hadn't gotten into my first 2 trips to Britain, but this past summer I really got into that. I visited places like Scarborough, Portsmouth, even Liverpool, considered I guess it's close to the sea. A lot of Irish in Liverpool, I noticed when I was visiting there. The seaside towns in Britain there's something really special about them. You can't quite compare them to anything. I mean, we have seaside town in the United States, but seaside town in England is it's special, bro. Like, I honestly thought the water was going to be so much colder than what it was. It was definitely swimmable, but you know, you're on this island. There's so much coastline and so much that I have not explored and that I really neglected in my first 2 trips. Obviously, they're not as accessible for tourists, especially some of these less well-known seaside towns, such as Scarborough, for example. You know, there weren't any other Americans there that I could see, so I'm glad that I was able to use my friendship with Y1 Radio and make it out there, because without them I would have never gone to Scarborough. You know, you can go get a little seafood at the seaside stall. You can grab something from the chippy, burgers, hot dogs, you know, the normal type of seaside fare. And then, of course, they got the arcades. The beach was really nice in Scarborough, guys, I have to say. I thought I had this really bad perception of British beaches. I thought they were all like pebbly and rocky, and that's just not the case. Like, Scarborough was beautiful sand. The water was as clear as it could be. I mean, I really did not have too many complaints when it came to that visit. And then my other seaside town, I guess you could say, was Portsmouth, and I really enjoyed that. There's obviously a lot more maritime and naval history there, which was more of the focus of my visit. But they still had some beautiful coastline, and I took the hovercraft from Southport, or the South Sea area of Portsmouth, across the Solent to Ryde, which is on the Isle of Wight. So that was some gorgeous views accompanying me along that ride, and I didn't dip my feet into the water or anything, but I did really enjoy Portsmouth. I thought that it had a lot to offer. But yes, the seaside aspect of Britain is something you really need to capitalize off of. Like, you're literally on this island. You're never too far from the coast. There is no reason that it took me that long to get to the seaside towns, you know? And there's still so much to explore. I think about the Southwest. I think about Cornwall. There's a lot to look at down there. I know some people say it's become real touristy, but I know there's going to still be some gems that I can find, and I want to make it down there. And I'm saying touristy as if, what does touristy really mean there? It's not like it's a American tourist, so can't be too bad, right? The next thing I want to get into is British humor. Man, you guys have a wicked sense of humor, and it's necessary to be in such a cloudy and downcast environment for so much of the year. And I'm not saying it's cloudy every day. I actually experienced some amazing weather when I was in England. It was sunny almost 7 days in a row, but that's not normal England. We all know that. But yeah, the humor, bro, like, it's just so good. And I thought that I was able to relate to everyone so well on this trip. I think I really have gotten the British humor. I really understand it at this point. You know, at first when people were poking fun, or maybe they seemed a bit more harsh when I first visited, like, I remember I literally got offended in Scotland because of that, because the Scotsmen, like, they have an extreme sense of humor. It's very direct, and I mean, it could be seen as rude or harsh to someone who's never experienced that before. But I feel like now I really understand it. Like, when someone's poking fun at you, they like you, bro. It's really that simple. And I thought also that English get along really well with Americans. Like, this is not just applying to Britain, but just in general. If you show a general interest or just a slight interest in somebody else's culture, they're going to take you under their wing 9 times out of 10 and try and help you and be your friend. Like that, it's that simple. Like, people everywhere are really nice, and the English are not an exception. I think oftentimes Americans and Brits, we can get bogged down in our stereotypes, and there is a little bit of friendly fire, animosity thrown at each other. Like, there's a reason why we're always cracking jokes about each other, making memes about each other, things like that. But when you actually go and visit and see them in person, and the same goes to Brits who come to the United States. Like, we love when Brits come to the United States. If you go to the US, you're going to say bottle of water way too much. I know, bro. I'm sorry. I apologize on the behalf of my entire country. But going to Britain, like, it was super easy to make friends and relate to people. That's something I really enjoyed. I do like the English a lot. It's nice to hang out with them because it is quite the switch up from hanging out with Americans. We are extremely similar, but there are still some core differences between us. And I honestly think I should make a video just on that, like comparing an American to a Brit. So I know I already talked about the seaside, but let's get into the natural beauty on this little island, guys. I visited the Peak District for the first time this year, and oh my, I was blown away. The landscapes, the hills, I said mountains, but people were correcting me. Yes, they're hills, but they're still enormous and beautiful. Small towns scattered throughout. I mean, I was in a pretty small town of Edale, but like the Peak District really blew me away. And when you throw that on top of all the other amazing natural beauty that's throughout England, throughout Scotland, of course. I mean, Scotland, you literally can go up in there and you think you're in the Lord of the Rings movie or something. Like, it's that amazing, guys. They got districts everywhere. Peak District, Lake District. I'm surprised there's not more. I mean, I'm probably missing something, honestly. And then you go down to the Cotswolds, and then you go down to the coasts. You got the coast on the east. You got the coast on the southwest, and north coast. Like, there is just so much natural beauty. There's so much to explore, and I really feel bad for people who visit England, for example, and they only stay in London. Or they visit England and they only go to a couple cities. Like, even just going to Manchester or something like that is still considered going out of the normal tourist bubble and visiting more of the real England, I guess you could say. But even that is still surface. Like, there is so much more than just the cities throughout England. Like, wow, I really am just blown away by the natural beauty. The United States, we're always talking about, oh, there's everything you could ever want here. We have so many national parks and different sites to see, but the truth is those are very far from each other. Like, you can drive for 10 hours and you're only going to be in like cornfields and flat, desolate land. Like, there's really not much in many areas of the United States. But the fact that England, it's already such a small portion of land, and almost all that land is filled up with just straight up beauty, straight up just, I don't even know how it's possible, honestly. Like, thinking about it, it blows my mind that so much is packed into a small little island, and like things that you just would not expect, bro. Like, it really, you can look at pictures online, you can look at videos all you want, but until you actually get out there, until you get on the trail or whatever, you don't even have to hike. Like, literally, you can just drive or take a train into somewhere and just get out of there and just see the view, and it will always blow you away because there's something truly special about that beauty. It's well kept. It's not trash littering the ground everywhere you go. It's just natural beauty, and that's something that we all need to like make an effort to preserve, honestly, because I think that's what makes England so special, is all the natural beauty that is inside of it. Now, I know I'm emphasizing England a lot, and that's because this past summer on my trip, I only visited England. I've also never been to Wales. I visited Scotland the first 2 trips, but I only went to Edinburgh, Glasgow, and kind of into the Highlands, Oban and Glencoe. But still, it only spent a few days throughout Scotland, so that's why I don't mention it as much. But I don't want to give the impression that I'm neglecting Scotland at all, because Scotland has, the natural beauty in Scotland will blow you. Like, it may be crazier than England in certain ways. Like the Highlands, I don't know how that's real. Literally, the further north you go up the country, the more you're entering a different universe almost in Scotland. It's really magnificent. Right, the next thing I want to get into is some of the food that I had. Sunday roast has just solidified more and more. It's just so delicious, bro. I love Sunday roast. I really wish we had it over here, but we don't. We don't have anything like a Sunday roast, really. And the Yorkshire puddings, Oh, the gravy. Like, my mouth is literally watering just thinking about that. The Sunday roast and a pint on a Sunday, nothing quite hits like that. I really wish I had visited during football season. I believe there were a couple games that I could have gone to, but I think they were just friendlies. They weren't like proper matches, but in the future, I need to do that, bro, because I know Sundays get crazy. Next thing is ciders. No one does ciders like you guys. I feel like everywhere I went, there were multiple ciders on tap. Like here in the United States, we got Angry Orchard, maybe some local craft cider, but aside from that, it's going to be slim pickings. You guys got Henry Weston's just sitting in Tesco, bro. Please don't take that for granted ever, because you guys don't understand how good that cider is, especially compared to our options over here in the United States. I am in heaven every time I'm over in England when it comes to the cider game. Next thing I want to get into is music festivals. So when I was in England this past summer, I actually went to 2 different music festivals. I didn't put any of that content over on YouTube. It is in the extended vlogs on my Patreon, which is the first link in description, but I decided just not to put them in vlogs on YouTube. But anyways, the festivals were great. I went to, I'm not trying to think of the genre. It wasn't really drum and bass. It wasn't really a rave. It was kind of something in between, like just electronic dance music, we'll just say that, bro. But I really enjoyed them. They were good vibes, great weather for both of them. I listened to a good amount of artists from the UK. Like I listened to UK hip hop. I'm tapped into you kind of see how that accent came out when I said UK hip hop. I'm tapped into the music scene over here. So, and of course, I'm listening to more of the classic rock bands and things like that. Like I'm really, when it comes to music, I love all the music coming out of the UK. Honestly, like I'm really tapped in. So I had a great time at both of those music festivals. Nice thing to experience my first music festivals in England. Wow, you guys have a lot of festivals. Like there were a lot of different options. I just had to pick the ones that fit into my itinerary the best, but I feel like I really wanted to go to the Isle of Wight festival. That one looked insane. But of course, eventually I'm going to have to make it up to Glastonbury, but this was not the summer for that. Now, we've been talking about a lot of positives throughout this video, and of course, there's way more positives for me to outline. Honestly, I just sat down and tried to think of most like important things that came to my mind from this trip to put into this video. But in terms of negatives, I think the biggest negative I can think of would be the trains. Oh my God, guys. I don't know what happened. And this wasn't just in England. Before I visited England, I was also in the Netherlands and I was in Germany as well. And Germany's train system was also faltering a little bit. Like their Deutschbahn has kind of regressed over the past couple years. But in England, oh man, the trains were a nightmare. Like I remember one Sunday I was trying to travel. It wasn't even that far of a journey. I was going to, I mean, it was like 3 or 4 hours, but I guess it was far. But like I was going to Portsmouth. I just remember there were delays. There were multiple times where there weren't enough seats for the amount of people trying to get on a train. There would be last minute cancellations. It felt like the trains were always delayed or there was always a problem, and it caused so much stress. You can just feel the stress around you. And honestly, I learned my lesson because Sunday is a terrible day to be taking the trains because it's kind of the maintenance day. There's a lot of contingency routes in effect, and it's not quite, you know, if the system is already kind of going downhill and then you're going on the worst day to travel, it's not going to be a fun time. And I had some really poor experiences when it came to the trains, and I'm using the trains a lot, guys. You got to understand, I'm on the trains almost every day because I'm popping around England trying to visit all these places. I invested in a BritRail pass for 15 days. Trains are really important to me, especially as a tourist in order to travel around the country. And I felt that this year's trains were the worst out of any of my trips so far. Like, just objectively speaking, I had the worst experiences with trains. Now, that doesn't mean that the trains were just a complete mess and that I couldn't make it anywhere. I eventually got to all of my destinations. It's just the way in which I got there. I was kind of crammed in seats. Sometimes had to stand for a bit. A lot of them were delayed again, and just makes for a poor experience because everyone around you just wants to get there and they're stressed, and then it makes you stressed and frustrated. It's just not fun. So I think the trains were, if I had one thing that I would recommend the country to improve a bit, it would be trains. Like, I don't know what has happened with that, but man, they went. Next thing I want to get into, this is probably not something you guys are going to expect, but the chippy, bro. Tell me why, like, okay, there was this chippy I went to in Portsmouth. I know this may just be one experience, but I felt like it was worth mentioning because this is just so weird to me. They had a dine-in price and a takeout price. The difference in the dine-in and takeout is when you dine in, which is a slightly more expensive price for fish and chips, you are able to use their ketchup. Since when did ketchup start costing money, bro? I noticed this like everywhere too. And this is not just a problem in the UK. This is a problem in the United States. This inflation stuff has gotten so out of hand. Like even Burger King too. They're charging for like every little thing of sauce. Do you guys remember the days where they just had the sauce out by the counter and you can get as many as you want or ask for as many as you want? Those are long gone now. Like they are charging, taxing, nitpicking for every little shilling, every little pence, every little cent, whatever they can get, bro. And it's just getting frustrating. Like fish and chips, there's literally nothing on them already. Like I just want a little bit of ketchup with my chips. I don't understand why that's such a big thing in England. Like why is ketchup not so common with chips? Like I get it, the vinegar and salt, that's cool. But let me get a little flavor. Let me get some ketchup on my chips. Maybe I just had a bad experience, but I've noticed that in the chip shop. Like they give you this big thing of newspaper. They they throw a fish in there. They throw the chips in there and they kind of bag it up. They're like, the way in which they bag that thing up, it's like they're beating your fish and chips up before they hand it to you. I just think that's funny. But look, I'm never going to hate on a chip, you guys. You got to take what I'm saying with a grain of salt, literally, because I know you be putting a lot of salt on your chips. So come on now. Don't take it too seriously. I think I just had a bad experience, but I don't know if that ketchup issue is a universal issue, but like it was just frustrating. And then I asked, oh, can I get a little squirt? And then the lady's like fighting me about it. I don't know, bro. I guess it's just on me. Like, listen, guys, I'm not trying to get too political or talk about economics. Listen, we're all screwed right now. I know how it is. Like the United States is going through the same stuff. Our country is going. There's a reason why I'm visiting England, bro. It's a breath of fresh air to visit England from the United States. That's how bad our stuff is right now. And like we all know inflation is through the roof and like cost of living is up and everything just kind of sucks right now. That's where we're at, honestly. So I noticed that when I was in the UK. I have to be really careful with my words here, but I just noticed how things seemed a bit down. Same thing is the case in the United States. We really move together when it comes to us, but I could just see it. You know, I could see it's not the best time right now in terms of economics and happiness and everything. I feel like everything's at an all-time high, like in terms of depression and loneliness and prices and everything. Like I noticed that when I was in England, and it's the same exact story here in the United States. So that's a similarity I noticed, honestly. And you could just, it's almost something you can feel in the air. Honestly, I just wanted to say that to offer some support, be like, yeah, that's not only in England where things may not be looking the best right now. Like it's everywhere around the world, and definitely the case in the United States in my experience. Like everyone over here is frustrated. My friends and I, everyone, like it's a really difficult time to be going about life. Honestly, keep going to the pubs and everything will be okay. But no, honestly, guys, I enjoyed my visit a lot this year. Got a lot out of it. Visited a lot of different places. If you haven't already, make sure you go watch some of my vlogs. They're the most recent videos on my channel after this video. I hope you guys enjoy them and have enjoyed the videos as well. So thank you all so much for your continued support. This won't be the last time I'm over across the pond. I think you guys all know that. I really appreciate you guys for sticking with me. Make sure you hit that like button, hit subscribe. Again, if you want to see some of those extended vlogs, the first link in description for that. Appreciate you guys once again. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.